I had said everything that needed to be said in those 3.5 pages. But I didn't protest long, for she offered me a much-needed advance, which I accepted and spent. So I had to write the book. I became a novelist by chance, only because an alert editor happened to notice my short story. It was by chance, too, that I became a teacher. My friend at Hunter, Elizabeth, was taking an education course. One of the course requirements was student teaching. One morning, she invited me to take over her class of 6-year-old children. As I stood before them and saw their eyes fixed on me, waiting for me to speak, I knew then that I had to give them something important, memorable, something that may change their lives. I still feel that when I face an audience. But I found it difficult to get a license to teach English in New York City high schools. I had come to this country from Russia at 12, long corkscrew curls down my back, and not a word of English on my tongue. I was placed in first grade with 7-year-olds, small, skinny, scared. I was monitor of nothing. The first time I dared to speak in class, propelled by sheer necessity, I mouthed a frantic which I subsequently learned was supposed to be, "May I leave the room?" I soon learned English by osmosis. Yet years later, when I came up for my orals, the Board of Examiners took a dim view of my over-careful enunciation, afraid, I suppose, that it would corrupt the speech of my students. They sent me a "Dear Sir or Madam" letter informing me of my failure. Each year I took additional speech courses. Each year I received additional "Dear Sir or Madam" letters. I spent my youth flunking the orals. This was in the depth of the Depression, during the 1930s, when public school teaching jobs were few and candidates for them many. I was offered college teaching positions, but I was eager to work with adolescents in whose lives I felt it was still possible to make a difference. Until I got my regular license, I was what's known in the trade as a permanent substitute. I had the same number of classes as a regular teacher, a lower salary, no tenure, and I was stuck with all kinds of non-teaching chores. As a sub, I taught in some of the best and some of the worst high schools in New York City, schools that later became the background for this book. In schools where I used to patrol the toilets, I am today required reading. I even served briefly as a per diem sub, one who comes for the day only, is expected to teach any subject, wields no mighty mark, and has the children for just 45 minutes out of their lifetimes. Once I taught gym. All you have to do, I was told, is blow the whistle. I blew, loud and clear. In one school, I found a man standing outside of the classroom assigned to me, holding on to the doorknob. From the room came shrieks and the sound of breaking glass. "You the sub?" asked the man. "I'm covering the class for you till you get here." He vanished. I took a deep breath and opened the door. I knew I had to mesmerize those youngsters within the first few seconds, or all would be lost. I entered, saying, "Я не понимаю, о черво, тут так шумно. Как можно себя так вести?" This stunned them into a bewildered silence. Who is this maniac? What is she saying? I was speaking Russian, but at least I had their attention. Maybe I could even teach them something. At the end of the period, a boy came up to me and said, "You're okay. You can come back tomorrow. Yesterday we had a man sub. We made him cry." This was way back when I was a very young teacher. Yet some schools in those good old days were not much different from today's. In one high school, in a special annex for boys, 2 tall boys served as my bodyguards when I walked down the hall. One walked in front.